Hello everyone, welcome to FedScoop TV. My name is Greg Otto and we're here with our FedMentors program. I'm talking with Dr. David Bray, the CIO of the FCC. David, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Greg.
So, what was your first government job and what did you learn from it that influenced you moving forward?
So my first one was actually when I was 15.
Okay.
Had to get a work permit. It was at a Department of Energy facility. They had an electron beam. It was being accelerated and thrown against walls to see what would happen.
Okay.
And I had been found through science fairs. So I'd been doing computer science projects. And so they offered me a job to try and model the electron beam and work on some network engineering efforts. The most exciting thing was this was back in 1993. And so the nice thing about it is it got me early exposure to the internet even before it became public. And so what I learned from it, you can have fun in public service. You can work on some really cool cutting-edge technology, despite what people think. There's actually some really cool things behind the hood. And important to me, actually, I think it inspired a continued passion to be a creative problem solver going forward.
So what advice do you have for young employees that are looking to get into public service and feel a little bit overwhelmed? I mean, you've been at it since you were 15. You have expertise in how to be a young person inside government.
So I think the best thing I would say is embrace being a change agent. And that means, first and foremost, learn, listen, absorb as much as you can, and then try and figure out your niche and where you want to create a disruption intentionally. But make sure you've planned it, because you're going to incur friction. And try and find mentors, friends, peers that can help inform you along the journey.
Okay.
I mean, I recognize that in some respects. I am intentionally donning the mantle of being a human flak jacket, just because I think public service needs to actually break past the status quo. And so I provide that flak jacket for other people that are change agents as well. I think anyone that's coming in that's young, it's useful to have that conversation. It can also be people that are young at heart. There may be people that are considering a second or third career. The nice thing about it is it's easier now more than ever to have on-ramps and off-ramps to do public service. I mean, along my way, I stopped off and I did time in the private sector, came back to public service, did time at nonprofits, came back to public service, and also did academia. And so I think you really need to look at it as your future career is not tied to any one specific job description or even domain, but think about the arc of things you want to do. And I think more now than ever, we need people that are willing to question the status quo and figure out nice ways to positively disrupt it and move the nation forward.
So that seems like some good advice. What's the best career advice that you've ever received?
Best career advice that I ever received? So it was I had an advisor when I was in college who said, remember that you will always make more of a difference on the inside than you will as an outsider. And at the time, I didn't quite understand what he meant. Right. This was me. I'd come back from South Africa. I'd built a computer model of the spread of HIV/AIDS, and I was a little bit disillusioned because, unfortunately, HIV/AIDS, this was 1998, and they'd gone from having only 5,000 cases in South Africa and HIV in 1994 to 2.4 million.
Wow.
So I was like, why am I in college when these bad things are going on in the world? So I said I was going to take a year off. I was going to work for Microsoft, later for Yahoo, but also volunteer with Habitat for Humanity. Okay. And his advice at the time, he said, you can go do that, but remember, when you travel overseas, you will still always be an outsider. And if you really want to make a difference, you have to figure out where you can be an insider and then help disrupt the status quo from there. And so while I'm glad I had those foreign travel experiences, I really enjoyed it and saw a lot of greatness in humanity and how people work together and how we have common humanity. I still think, and I actually do celebrate this, that if you really want to disrupt the system, take the time to understand it from the inside and figure out how to positively move it forward. And again, since our world is changing exponentially, we need people both young at heart to take on that mantle and do it.
So how do you, as a young person inside government, get to that inside track? What are the resources that you would suggest for young people looking to advance their career?
Right. So there's multiple paths to serve in public service. Probably the fastest one is to look at the different contracting organizations that work with government agencies. That can be more expeditious. They can make an offer faster than the whole USA Jobs process. I mean, we know right now the number of civilian workers in public service are either steady state or declining. Right. And so that allows you to have an experience and see what it's like and try and figure out which agency you want to do. And then if you want, you can go through the USA Jobs process and apply through there. Both are of service. In fact, we need both. Other possibilities that I hope we can do is I'd love to see more things where we're actually allowing people to have almost like 50% or almost like a volunteer civilian corps. Right. They have it in Taiwan, where they have right now more than 15,000 individuals in Taiwan that actually volunteer outside of their day jobs. I'd love to see something like that at the national level where we could actually allow people to volunteer. That's not happened yet, but this is 2016. We'll see what happens in the next 4 years.
So what is one thing that you're working on right now that you're really passionate about?
Right now, what I'm really passionate about is we've succeeded at the FCC about moving to cloud.
Right.
When I arrived 3 years ago and we first did this FedMentor video, it was the large, daunting journey of 9 CIOs in 8 years. Is this guy going to last more than a year? And how are we going to move those 207 systems to a sustainable place? And it was a fun journey along the way, and we got that there. So now we have no systems on premise. Instead of consuming 85% of our budget, it's now less than 50%. Instead of taking 6 or 7 months to stand up a new system, we can have a working prototype in 48 hours. But to me, that's just the appetizer.
Okay.
Now it's about how do we, one, encourage other public service agencies to do the same, so share our playbook and have it do a scale. And two, we got to get ready for this thing called artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data analytics. And for me, the conversation is, again, government shouldn't write its custom code.
Right.
So what we need are remixable microservices that allow us to do data analytics, data visualization, artificial intelligence as a microservice. And at the same time, have conversations with commercial vendors that are providing it as to what they can make open, both for us to be able to remix it, but also so that we can engender public trust. That's what's being done with the data in terms of how it's being analyzed, how it's going to be visualized, what the machine is doing with it to make interpretations, is in the public's best interest. There is an example in California right now where they're using a machine learning AI algorithm to make bail decisions.
Okay.
So the nice thing about it is it doesn't take into account your height, weight, gender, or race, which should not matter.
Right.
It just takes into account the facts of the case. What are other things that we do in public service that you don't want to have biases that are not relevant to what actually is being done? If you can have that be an open algorithm, that to me is what I'm really passionate about and would love to tackle. I actually think we need to have, much like we have a defense advanced research projects agency, I think we need to have some safe spaces, or maybe a safe space singular, maybe it's the civilian advanced research project agency, for things like AI, Internet of Things. How are we going to move forward with scale to use these in public service and make our communities healthier and safer at the local level?
Great. Thanks for joining us today. I appreciate your insight.
Thanks for having me, Greg.